Call the meeting to order. And I would like to, hang on, I gotta get this silly screen out of here. I would like to amend the agenda slightly. I would like to add in the conversation about Swift House, which we had remotely sort of quickly started at the last meeting. I would also like to add in a conversation about the roof at the sewer plant. And I would also like to add in a conversation about the aeration tank project at the plant also. So may I get a motion to amend the agenda to add those 3 items in?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Thanks, Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from the May meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye, great. We have on the, I'm gonna put in, I'm gonna sneak those items, the Swift House conversation in right now, and then we can talk about the other projects right after following the budget. Joyce had come to, Joyce, why don't you explain to us again quickly, since there are more of us at this meeting right now, what you all are looking for at Swift House, and we can go from there.
We're looking to connect it to the sewer, and so I had asked if the sewer commission would waive the connection fee.
Okay. I quickly spoke with Joyce this afternoon, and I think if, based on what we use for fees, I believe the commercial industrial hookup fee at the maximum is $2,865. And I suggested to Joyce today that it being a nonprofit like we had done for Kent Affordable Housing when Virginia had come to us, I suggested that we charge them half the fee. So it would be $1432.50 would be the fee to hook up for the Swift House versus the $2865, which seems to be the general fee when like when Morrison Gallery came on and other projects like that came on the sewer line, they paid that as a hookup fee. And I think what we should do in light of that, I would just change I would see if we can change the wording on the rate and structure fee of what the rates are for, especially for commercial and industrial, because I think to do it based on gallons, if it's a brand new building and you don't know what kind of usage you're going to have, I think if we leave the $2865 as the hookup fee, and then obviously they're going to pay whatever water that they use, the water in, water out will be their usage fee. Bart, does that seem reasonable? Or, I mean, if we change the wording on that form to say, basically, when you're hooking up to the Kent Sewer, the commercial rate is $2865, which is the low end rate of the residential.
Well, obviously that the commission's free to do what it wants, but from an engineering perspective, it's pretty simple to come up with an estimate of what a building would what the flow rate you'd expect from a building based on its occupancy. And that's something that engineers do all the time, for septic systems, for commercial buildings with septic systems, so it's not it's not a magic number or a process that is really difficult to accomplish, but but again, it's up to the commission to set the policy that it wants to. It's just from an engineering perspective, it's not an onerous thing to estimate what a flow rate would be for a proposed building.
Are you suggesting that in the end, the fee might be lower than what's been suggested, or based on actual usage?
I don't know. For
Okay.
the Swift House, I don't know what the fee would be. And there may be some records of what the flow rate is based on their water usage already.
The hard
Hmm.
part is that because it's been COVID and no one's been using that building, to try and back up what their usage has been would probably not make any sense, at least for right now. I'm not saying you couldn't estimate out what it would be, but the fact that really no one's been using that building really for the last 2+ years now, you wouldn't have a way of really, I mean, you wouldn't be able to base it on those figures, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, I think ideally what we need to do, I don't know. I mean, if you think the fairest way is to do it based on water, and usage for any commercial business coming on the line, I'm fine with that, but I guess I just need it to be written more clearly. It's such a, it's just such a gray area, and it's saying that the maximum is to not exceed 2865 per hookup. Whether or not, I mean, knowing what it takes you to come in and take a look at their engineering plan to make sure it works, is the 2865 including your fee, or is it 2865 plus the engineering fees?
Well, so if we just look at specifics with the Swift House, is that they have a lateral that's a connection point to the existing main already. And where they know where their septic tank is, so it's not like it's you really even need an engineer to review the design plans unless there's something discovered that's really out of the ordinary. And here, a contractor could come in and install the sewer lateral without a whole lot of difficulty or surprises along the way, it would seem. So I don't think you would even need much in the way of engineering services to investigate the plans and stuff that they have.
I mean, for them, I agree with you, but in general though, like when Billy Morrison went on, and then when, who was it? We had the issue with, when Swift went on, all these places decided to hook into the sewer. I mean, it required you, reading the drawings and, making sure that they were doing the job properly. So I guess I ideally just want to have it clarified, whatever rate the commission decides on, and just say this is the base rate, and whether it's water driven, I don't know, but base rate, and then to not include, plus your fee to review it. And maybe obviously Swift House would be an easy review, but in general, most would not be, if they're coming on for the first time.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the new regs, have a provision in it so that you can charge, set up an escrow account that says, okay, we expecting engineering fees to be X amount of dollars, so that the people who are proposing the connection pay the engineering review fees instead of, the commission paying them out of its budget. And I think we're pretty. We understood that the commission has paid a lot of money for engineering review in the past, which should really have been the responsibility of the applicants.
Right.
So you really do need to make sure you're covering your costs in general, for all applications. And
All right, so-
the way the fee structure is right now, it's probably not adequate for most applications.
Okay, so in order for Swift House to move forward, I mean, would everybody be in agreement of charging them the $14.30? And then, as Bart said, the hookup fees are not very clear, are not going to be certainly extensive. And then put it into, rewrite the part on this the fee and charges statement to just specify that the rate fee does not include, it requires an escrow account to set up for the engineering fees, just to make sure that the plans are adequately, taken care of.
Can I say something?
By all means.
Okay, so I would personally refer to the lawyer first before we take any action at all. The three of you and Bart can sit down and talk about it and then come up with the correct wording for it.
Okay, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to personally write it. Don't get me wrong. Just, I would have Jeff Sankowitz certainly,
Yes,
make
exactly.
sure that it's written properly and, worded carefully so that, we obviously don't get into trouble with anybody. But for the moment going forward what does everybody feel about that fee for the Swift House? Or do you feel it should be different or it should be less? I mean,
I have no
First-
problem with that amount.
Is this,
Seems reasonable to me.
okay,
Agreed. Uh-oh, I found you.
sorry, I know. Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we have Swift House pay a fee of $14.30, round it off, and to hook up to the Kent sewer line. And then, so that's my motion. Does anybody have anything to add in or change or
A second.
second? I need a second on that.
You did. Joyce,
Right.
No,
Oh,
I can't second. We need a second.
you need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, so, but I will reach out to Jeff this month and see what he can do about putting together, just more succinct verbiage on that part of the charge statement. And then have it specified that there's the escrow account, which we had done when we had set up the new regulations and stuff. So I will make sure that it appears on that piece of paper, which is up on the website. Okay. Let's see, roof. Steve Roby Steve and I had spoken, and Lyle had spoken with a couple of different people about replacing the roof on the garage at the sewer plant. And Steve has gone out of his way to get a couple of estimates, so I'm gonna let you elaborate on who you reached out to and stuff, Steve.
Okay, so DJ Hall was already, he was one of the first people who gave us some information. He gave us an estimate of $45,000 to basically put insulation on top of the metal roof that's there and then put a rubber roof on top of the insulation. And then I also got an estimate from Kent Hollow Roofing, and his estimate, just looking at my numbers, was for $33,700. And his idea was to take the current metal roof off and put a new metal roof on top. And
No,
then
What's this fee for a metal roof?
that's to put a new metal roof on top. Take the old
Wow.
metal roof off and put a new metal roof on.
with insulation?
No additional insulation. There
Okay.
is insulation already up there, but Lyle would tell you that it's not very good.
Right. The thing
And
is
there's
with
some
adding,
holes in it where where the roof is leaked, it sort of ruined the insulation in a couple places up there. So really that needs to be addressed. Because it's
Okay.
just, the heat's just going right through the metal, of course.
Yep.
And then
Can
the
Hollow
third,
put insulation in underneath his new design?
I didn't talk to him about that, Alyssa, so I imagine he could. I didn't, that's not one of the things that we talked about.
the thing of it is with adding anything, additional insulation, and the building inspector wants an engineering study of the building to determine if it can carry the extra weight of adding anything besides what the metal that's already there. And from what I understand, the inspector would want the metal torn off and new metal put on, and that could be done. But anything in addition, it has to have an engineering study done to see if it can carry the weight of like EDM roof or EPDM roof, additional insulation, anything of the sort, unless we go exactly apples to apples.
So let me ask you this, if DJ Hall did it and he's just putting on a rubber roof, would that
That-
require engineering as well?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay,
because
so no
it-
matter what
because
you
he's gonna
do.
put insulation in between the metal roof and
Okay.
the rubber.
Oh, I follow you. Sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
And the rubber itself is actually pretty heavy.
yeah.
Oh,
So basi-
I would imagine. I would imagine.
So basically, anything but tearing off that metal and putting exactly what is down there, because they believe it's a structural part of the building. As far as strength goes, we have to have an engineer.
Bart, is that something you can do?
Well, what I could do here is just to clear up the issue with the building inspector, to say that if we're not adding any additional information, any additional insulation over and above what's there already, that you'd still meet the existing, the design parameters for the existing building. As long as you don't change the R value of the insulation or the roof, you know, all of the parameters, he's worried about additional snow accumulation and things of that sort, would remain the same so long as the R value of the insulation remains the same for the roof as it was when it was originally built and to where it is right, you know, with the proposed amount. So if you, I think the commission should look to add insulation, you know, just because it's going to reduce the cost to keep the building heated.
For sure.
So it's to not add insulation to replace the existing stuff that has zero or no, or very little R value right now, you're missing a great opportunity to help reduce your costs. You know, having an engineer look, you know, if we add additional insulation, having a higher R value, I'd have to get involved with the structural engineer to have him look at the parameters. I don't think that there's going to be any huge issue, but the building inspector needs to shed responsibility, you know, and liability for any decisions made on the roof to an engineer, and that's why he's requiring an engineer look at it. So.
Okay. And Steve, did you get a third one or you just, or?
So the third one, he really needed us to give him more information about what we wanted to do. He had four ideas about how we could take care of the roof. One of them is to take the old metal roof off and replace with metal. The second idea would put a new metal roof on top of the current metal roof with a layer of insulation in between. The third option would be the rubber roof with insulation. And then the fourth idea would be to coat the current roof with a layer of silicone. But he was unable to give me a bid because there's just such a wide range of different options available. He'd be happy to give us a bid if we told him what we wanted to do. His company has done all of these things. So they have experience with doing all of these different things. He just didn't have any idea which way we wanted to go. The putting a new metal roof on or putting the rubber roof on, as Bart said, would both require an engineer's approval because you're also adding insulation.
Right.
Real quick, did we put out a legal notice for this, or is this just an exploratory?
We were just exploring it. What got it started is that the ARPA fund project was out there and we were talking about, you know, all of a sudden we were given an opportunity to apply for some money, for some funding, which I didn't realize. And so what we did is we quickly put together a wish list of things we wanted or things that we could use that money for, as opposed to having it coming out of our budget. One was the ball bearings, one was a roof, one was redoing the alarm system, and there was one more, and it's escaping me at the moment, but there were four ideas. So all of a sudden, we did get the funding from ARPA. The town has given us some, a good, money to do these projects, as well as money to help possibly offset future engineering costs for the aeration project. So it's kind of a two-prong deal here. So we just quickly got an estimate from DJ Hall, just as so we had an estimate of what kind of money we were asking for. And then now then Steve got involved, and he said he would look into seeing who get a couple of, estimates and see what we can come up with. But that's as formal as it has been, John. I mean, if you have somebody who you want to have take a look at it, by all means, send their name our way, and we'd be glad to, get an estimate from them. I think what we need to do as the commission, I think we need to figure out, what route we want to go. And then these guys can, give us an estimate that's a lot clearer, and they're not wasting their time, because everybody's time is valuable these days. So I think we need to decide, as a commission, or is the rubber roof the better way to go, or is replacing it with a metal roof the better way to go? Or, I mean, personally, I think since it already has a metal roof on it, I would continue with the metal roof, insulate it properly, so that, we're not, since we have this opportunity and we're totally fixing it, then fix it. That's my idea, but I'm glad to listen to anybody, whatever input anybody else has, what they think is the best way to go. Obviously,
Yes.
I'm not a contractor.
Guess it depends on whether, if we leave the metal roof on, we add insulation, add a new roof, whether the engineer and the building inspector will approve that arrangement or not. I mean, without bracing the building. Like, I
I'm,
guess that would be ideal if the building is tolerated.
I like Bart said, like Lyle said, and Bart said, I mean, we definitely need to have somebody come in and engineer this whole project.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, logically, I wouldn't go over the metal roof that's there. I would think that the logical thing was to take some of the weight off of the building and, take the first metal roof off, redo the roof, put the new insulation on, put the metal roof on, and go that way. I mean, that's what I would think would make more sense, instead of going over the roof. But, I'm up to listen to anybody. I mean, obviously, this isn't my decision, but I just think that that's what I would do.
One other point, Alyssa, on taking the old metal roof off is the River Valley Roofing experience with that is no one would be able to be in the building while that is being done, because
Okay.
there's no floor between the roof and where people are. So if anything fell through, that would be a big safety issue.
Okay,
So his experience was that with a similar building, is the building had to be evacuated throughout the entire time that the work was being done, which doesn't seem feasible to me.
did he say how long he thought it might take to do a project like this?
I didn't get a time estimate.
I'm just curious. I mean, if it's a week, I mean, anybody can live with a week. If it's a month, then that becomes a very different story.
Oh, I think it's closer to the week than a month, but I'm just guessing.
All Okay.
Bart, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you know of any other towns that have done any upgrades to the garage?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you broke up a little, Jen. Can you repeat that?
Do you know of any other towns in the area that have done over their garages similar to what we need to do?
Not precisely what the commission needs to do. There've been roofing projects in the area, but
Right.
not precisely what the commission needs to do with the replacement of the insulation and the metal. So,
Yeah, I was
Bart,
just
would
trying-
it be-
Go ahead.
Sorry.
sorry.
Bart, would it be your suggestion to take the old metal roof off and then put insulation on and then a new metal roof, or would you go over the existing roof?
Well, there's a lot of commercial roofing companies out there that have a process where spray insulation down, and they put a rubber membrane over top of the sprayed on installation. And that's a very conventional and money-saving opportunity where you don't have to strip the roof down. All the waterproofing is done, with the spray foam and the rubber membrane that gets placed over top of it. It's not quite the roll rubber roofing that you're talking about here. It's a bright white color, and it's something that's worth considering. And they may, a company like that may even have the opportunity to give you the engineering information it needs as part of its proposal, rather than having to hire a separate engineer.
Okay.
So where would you find somebody like that, Bart?
I could certainly give names. I think John Casey had the IGA done, the roof done with one of the companies that does that work. So he might be a good reference for similar type of work that's on low slope roofs.
And that guy,
Oh,
and the guy
I
who
know
did
there's-
the IGA did warranty it too. I mean, the guy is a real stand-up guy.
Yeah, and it's also a great thing to have local contractors get the work done, because why not keep the money local if you can, right? So that's certainly a plus, for everybody, for the community anyways.
Yeah, plus if it, very helpful that we're using ARPA money and it goes back into the community. That's a great idea.
Yep.
Why don't I reach out to John, find out the name of the contractor, and then we can either you, Steve, or I can reach out to him and have him give us an estimate of what it would, what he where he thinks to go with that. And I have a customer of mine who did this blown in installation. It's almost like a fiberglass shell. That stuff is amazing. I mean, they live in a very, very old house. They blew this stuff in. It is so rock solid. It's incredible. And then to put the rubber roof over it, that, could be a huge savings and be just as effective. So, but I will call him and find out who he used.
I know there's the one thing that John was saying about advertising for bids and things of that sort. The state of Connecticut has limits of where the commission or the town would have to go out to bid, for either reconstruction or / maintenance work, or new construction. So usually I believe that the number, the last time I read it, was like $100,000. So if you keep it under the $100,000, you wouldn't have to go out for formal bids unless the town has set up a purchasing policy that said you must go out to formal competitive bid. And if you do go out to a formal competitive bid, that's an expensive undertaking in and of itself, just to develop the bid documents. And so, doing something that's slightly more informal is usually a great way for the commission to save money if it's not legally obligated to go out to bid. At the same token, you don't get the same apples to apple comparison between bids, because they're bidding on slightly different projects, as we've seen from Steve's experience from one contractor to another.
Mhm.
Yep. The other thing too is, Joyce, can you chime in here? What is the town's policy on bids?
Or Ricky could even answer that too. Are either of you there?
Yeah, so it should go out to bid, but I don't think it needs to go out to bid to the extent that Bart's thinking. I mean, if we put it on the town website, that's sufficient. It's just to protect the commission that you're getting more than one bid.
Well, we have two right now, and if we reach, actually, two and one pending, and then if we reach out to the guy who had done the IGA roof, that would be 4 bids.
Right.
I don't think that's unfair, and 2 are local, so.
Yeah, but we never placed an ad for it, like in the website, so.
Okay. Well, Um, we can
Could
do
do that.
that, I guess.
Tomorrow, if you wanted to.
If we need to put, if you think we need to put an ad out, we could do that. I mean, I'm just, I don't know.
That's an
I think
opinion or
it's so
is that
complicated.
required?
Pardon me?
Is that an opinion or is that required by the town?
I think if it's under if it's under the $100,000, Joyce, do we have to do it? Or can we just put it out to bid to a couple of people and go from there? Or do we have to put it up on the website?
We can put it on the website, but again, as Bart was saying, if we don't have any specifics, what are you putting on the website? I mean, you
Yeah.
don't know. You're not going to be comparing apples to apples. One guy is going to put a conventional roof on, another guy's going to put a rubber roof on, and another guy's going to put a metal roof on. So how are you going to determine? So unless you know exactly what you're doing, putting it on the website, you're not going to get any valid information.
I also think all these contractors are so busy that if you can reach out to a few that give you an answer and they have a good track record to begin with, I would think that's reasonable. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, well, let me reach out to the other guy, and if we, let's get some input from him of what he thinks, and then we can narrow down what we think ideally is the best solution to the problem. And then reevaluate, and if we need to put an ad out on the website, we can do it from then, do it at that point. We'll have an answer by next month, if that sounds fair. Okay,
And decide on what kind of roof we want, and we can get a bid from 4 different people on that same roof and get a good comparison. If we can decide on what sort of roof we want.
for me, the roof we want is the one that is going to work, is going to be the most efficient. I mean, obviously you want it to
Right.
keep out the leaks, but that will be insulated and will have the longest value. That's the roof I think we're looking for. And I'm not equipped to give you, I don't
Right.
know those engineering answers, but I think if we get, 1 or 2 other estimates, at least we can see what's out there and then hopefully make a better informed decision from that. Okay, all right, so I'll reach out to the other man and see what he says, and then we will try and hone this in a little bit, and then if we still think we need to go out, I'll reach out to Barton. We'll see what we need to come up with and then put out a bid based on that information. Okay,
Melissa, I just had a quick question. You hear me?
Yeah.
If the roof is currently leaking, that's kind of a now emergency situation. Is there any leeway given where you don't have to go through all of the bidding and all that? Because I mean, you have a leaking roof. I don't know if there's any expediency there.
I'm all about that.
What those
Trust me, but
ARPA funds, I don't know if, the
I
ARPA
guess
funds.
we have to, no, the ARPA funds is not restrictive in
Yeah,
that sense. I mean, we just asked for money to put on a roof because we knew we needed one. Obviously, we need to get it repaired as soon as possible because it is leaking. But I think me personally, I would pick the guy who I think can do the job best. But then I always get into trouble doing stuff like that.
yeah, you have to follow the town rules, but I mean,
But if we find the right guy to do it, then we're good.
it's could be a safety situation. It could be a health safety situation.
Yeah.
You can't go through a 3-month bidding process while you're.
No, I agree. And the other thing is, I don't know who you guys used for, the project up at High Watch, but maybe that's something that contractor would consider too.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I mean, it's similar to you were saying, a commercial roofing contractor really is best than considering it. Residential guys can do it, but if you're into rubber and the EDM type of rubber, that's really a specific product. And commercial contractors usually handle those. I know Bruce Morrissey does do it. He's actually done a few flat roofs for me, so he does. But yeah, if you're happy with whoever did the IGA, I don't know who did our roofs. We don't have a whole lot of flat roof. That was more of a conventional. So, but yeah, I was just wondering how that process works. If you got to spend the money. I mean, you have it, you got to spend it, but if it's an emergency type situation.
No, I mean, yes, it's an emergency. It needs to get done, but it's not like the roof isn't caving in yet,
Cave
but
in.
we need to get beyond it, that's all.
Got it.
Now that we have funding to do it, it makes it a lot easier to take on this project than before.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see, the next thing on the schedule is the budget. And Barbara and I sort of have met to talk about the budget, and I will let her go from there.
So I did just start a screen share. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the same budget that I presented a couple of weeks, or seems like a couple of weeks ago, probably was a little longer than that. And Alyssa and I did make a few tweaks to it that we felt were necessary regarding the cost for electricity. And we did discuss some other detail lines, made just some very slight tweaks. But we wanted the budget to come in balanced, so we reduced the amount of funding that would go back to the town to pay off the belt press to balance the budget, with the assumption that if the budget does, or if the revenue versus expense for this fiscal year 23 does better than this budget, then we'll pay back more to the town than the $20,000. But we felt it was important to present a balanced budget. So this is the budget as it stands. Total expenditure, $419,501.
Just so you all know, we adjusted it for the cost, one, the cost of electricity, and two, the cost of oil. Thinking, not knowing, you know, where we're going to come in on the cost of oil for the sewer plant. I mean, I know what, I just got a quote for me at the restaurant, which was $4.49. And that's definitely $2 more a gallon than I was paying last year. So we just wanted to make it be reasonable. And the other thing that we did is we sort of cut back on arts fees, only because going forward, if with the ARPA funds, the extra money was to be given towards engineering fees. And that's what the money we were going to use for Bart's fees to help engineer the aeration project.
Yep.
And have that design come through.
I just want to make one clarification point on the ARPA funding. As we sit here today, the ARPA funding hasn't actually, the recommendations have not been presented to the Board of Selectmen. That actually happens on the 22nd. So there may be some changes, but the recommendation that's coming from the ARPA committee is to award the sewer commission the $57,000 to do that wish list of the roofing and the bearings and whatever else. And then I think the total amount was 110,000, and then the balance would be used towards engineering for this new tank project. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit.
Because on that aeration project, it's going to be Bart doing that whole design. So we thought if we were given that money to use for his engineering fees, that would make sense. And then this way we can bring the budget down, you know, bring it so that it does balance at the end of the year. And that was also taking, I mean, we had originally planned to pay $50,000 back to the town for the belt press. But if, you know, it's not set in stone of what we have to pay back to them per year. So we have it at the $20,901 to go back to the town for this year. That also includes putting money in savings accounts and keeping a, you know, keeping a reasonable amount of money in the checking accounts as well. So we just thought that just made some sense.
Yeah, that does include putting in $26,000 into the capital fund, and the capital fund is growing, as you'll see when I give my report. So we discussed that a little bit too, is actually putting a cap on what that fund holds.
Art, were you going to say something?
Me, no.
Okay, no, your screen lit up, so.
Sorry.
So does
So-
anybody, you know, take a look at this? So, you know, the things that are crazy are the insurance, you know, workers' comp, you know, things like that, that we don't really have a control over.
Yeah. I just highlighted down here what's basically driving the changes. The revenue has stayed the same, so the big changes are outlined here, the health and dental insurance, a little bit of increase for processing the lab exams, payroll increases, the big reduction that we just discussed regarding the engineering fees, a little bit of increase in postage, some equipment rental, payroll taxes, and then the insurances. So you can vote on it today if you're comfortable. If you're not, I'd be happy to send it around so everybody can look at it in detail again if they think that's required.
I make a vote that we go ahead with it the way it is.
A
Okay,
second.
all in favor?
I,
Barbara, can you send us an email of the budget?
Sure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
The important thing was for us to get it down,
Yep.
have
Yep.
the balance, the budget get balanced. So that was the main thing today. So thank
Yeah,
you
good.
all.
Good job.
Thank you, guys. Barbara, here, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here. All right, so Lyle, why don't you give your report?
Good afternoon, everybody. As you remember, I wasn't at last month's meeting, so I need to recap the readings for that month as well. So since that would be the month of April, that would be 2.48 million gallons total came through the plant, 73,000 gallons per day average. 1 million gallons came from Kent School. Our average BOD and total suspended solids removal rate is at 99%. And our average influent pH was 7.3. Last month, we had 2.42 million gallons come through the plant. It's 73,000 gallons per day as well. 1.1 million gallons came from Kent School. Average BOD removal rate was 99%, and total suspended solids dropped off 1% to 98%. And the average influent pH went up to 7.4. We have 1 effluent bed is in use currently, and 3 are drying. New Rayco alarm modems are installed and online. Peter Crockett is progressing at his studies well. Peter and I will be attending the Atlantic States Rural Water and Wastewater Association Conference in Wallingford on June 23rd, where we will be taking some classes. Peter will receive confined space training, and I will receive training on nitrogen balance and PFAS chemicals in wastewater. We are getting ready for septic bed cleanouts as soon as the weather allows. I have a company coming to do a repair on the welding repair on the bucket of the loader. I just got in contact with him today through Rick Osborne, and he's going to let me know what that's going to cost. There's a tear in the bucket. The rag dumpster continues to be an issue with water retention. Welsh doesn't want to pick up the dumpster when the rags are wet. So we discussed it, and we talked about going to a weekly pickup instead of doing bi-weekly in the warmer months. So there'll be less rags at a time in the dumpster. We drilled holes in it for draining, but when it gets really full, they don't work out and they won't pick it up. And we continue to work our way through the quotation process on the maintenance building roof replacement, as we already discussed. That's about all I have.
Great. Thank you, Lyle. All right, Barbara, to continue with your report then.
Okay, so I'm going to do another screen share. Oops, sorry. Thought I was going to do another screen share. Let's see, where is our? Don't know. Hold on a second. I got to get rid of the budget first. Sorry. Okay. So now I think I can do a screen share. There we go. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
yes,
Okay. So this is my typical report. The first page to this month is the actual versus budget, goes through the end of May. And as you can see, we are a little bit behind last year, or I mean, a little bit behind budget for the septage fees as of right now. That may be weather related, but the sewer use charges were quite a bit ahead of what we budgeted. And again, that may be a timing situation. It seems as if all the other categories are tracking on budget. And to date, we have put, where is it? Oh, it's down further. 21,119 into the capital reserve and 6,336 into the short-term asset reserve. And we're still operating at a net profit for the year so far. And I don't think that's going to change too much during June. It'll change a little bit. But we did budget that we would have a $76,000 profit at the end of the year. So we're going to be right on track or maybe a little bit above that. The next report that I provide is the balance sheet. Maybe it's just a little, can everybody still see it? I had to make it a little bit smaller. This very top section is our cash accounts, and it's this year versus last year at this time. So overall, our cash accounts are up $100,000 from where they were a year ago, which pretty much coalesces with the P&L at this point. At this point today, the Sewer Commission owes the town of Kent $209,000, but I have not yet taken the $50,000 and given it to the town of Kent as this year's budgeted pay down on the belt press. So that'll happen in June. I thought I'd wait till the end of the year just to make sure that there was plenty of money in there. And then the last document that I always provide is the disbursement journal for the month of May. It was just a pretty average month. The most interesting thing that happened is that the user charges were $11,000 more than they were budgeted for. But the septage fees are down a little bit, and I'm not really sure. Lyle, are you noticing that there's less traffic or?
Yeah, I've noticed there's less traffic, and I've got a call from a couple of the septic companies, the people in the office saying that they were slowing down their septic hauling due to fuel costs
Oh.
and staying closer to their area. So like Milford, for instance, is going to the Milford plant more. Stuff like, staying towards Litchfield Way. So it is down.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's logical.
Quick
So
question.
that's,
I have a
oh.
quick question. In the middle here on May 13th, Ace Hardware, a gallon of vinegar.
It's for weed control, spraying the fences.
Okay, thank
Fence
you.
lines, cuts down a lot on weed whacking, and that's a lot of hours of labor.
No, I just saw a gallon of vinegar. I said I could give
Yeah.
you $6 if you want. So
Right?
sorry.
So that's my report in entirety. If I just need a motion and the board to approve the disbursement ledger for May.
So may I get a motion to approve the disbursement ledger for May?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Barbara, thanks. So no Debbie and Bart.
Yeah, I don't have much to report today. I know that the fellow by the name of Mr. Stone has been continuing to contact me relative to questions he has with the sewer connection for the parcel between Maple Street Extension and the Kent Green Shopping Center. But haven't heard much from him in the past month. So don't know where that's going, but that's really all I have at this point. So.
Okay, so Bart, I have a question for you. This year, I talked to David Schreiber over at Club Getaway, and he has finally figured out some money to go get some money, which he should have done 2 years ago, which would have been cheaper, but that's another story. But this year, they are on the verge of having a really good year, which is going to hugely make up for his last 2 years. But that being said, knowing his septic system is not in the best of shape to begin with, tells me that it's going to be a need sooner than later for him to deal with the situation. So my question to you is, it's kind of two-pronged. Obviously the aeration project is on the agenda for us, okay? We can't go apply for a loan until we know kind of what we need. And that comes down to you as to estimate out sort of where you think we need to go financially, so that Barbara can then go to, the Board of Finance to, put this whole thing, to get the ball rolling. But we need a more solid input from you. So that's where I was wondering if you could really start the ball rolling on putting together either a rough estimate or start to put together some design fees, design drawings of what it is we're going to take on and what we need, and then get that in place. I mean, I know whatever we do is going to take a long time. I mean, and ideally we have to go to the town to get an approval on this. So obviously we can't go to the May meeting. That's come and gone, but there's one in January or there's next May. So my question to you would be is if we could get the ball started and maybe have enough of it in place so that we could go to the town in January. And if we don't make the January meeting, I mean, obviously we will live, but if we could do it, then things could get whatever we need to implement this, this project, we could start to at least order things, because we know with the way things are going these days, it's going to take a long time. Does that sound like it's going to work?
Well, I just knowing the way these projects go, I think your schedule is pretty optimistic as to what it will take and how long it will take to get to take all the steps that you need to go so that you know precisely what you have to finance. So that's a long way off, especially with all of the new money that's coming into the programs like the SRF. You maybe have the ability to get a number of grants, new grants programs that are out there that are associated with the SRF, so that your amount of money that you have to pay out is much less than the total cost of the project. On the order of 50 to 75% grants are what they're talking about right now, but it's just a program that's going to take a couple of years to really come together. So it's something that, we should keep moving. And I've been deficient about keeping the whole process moving as strongly as it should be. So I'll get some effort.
I mean, I know January is really optimistic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if it happens, it does. But I'm assuming it would not be until like May. But I just thought, hey, if all of a sudden you had an incredible amount of free time and we're able to devote to this, and we can at least get the ball started, that would be that's what we need to do.
It all starts with me finishing up a preliminary engineer's report that gives preliminary data about the costs and what the project did. Just fleshes out what the project needs to be. So that's my task, and that's where I've been promising to get that finished up for the past couple of months, and I will double my efforts to make sure that pulls together.
That's fine. I just know, he's busy this summer, and I just think before,
He
I
just
want us to be paid up. That's all. I just want us to have things going in the right direction.
The Getaway could connect tomorrow.
No, I know.
If they wanted to, and the plant could handle the additional flow. Lyle, the flows right now are still around the 80,000 gallon a day.
Yeah, they've come down since the school has less discharge this month so far.
So there's plenty of capacity for him to connect it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I
Right,
know,
so-
but I'm just saying this is not gonna happen overnight. And I just figured if we can start to move it in the right direction, that, you know,
Yep.
it's going to take a long time. And if we can get at least started, then we can, you know, then we know what kind of money we need and what work it's going to involve. That's all.
Yep.
Okay, does anybody have anything else that they want to add in? Or, you know,
Yesterday's flow was 55,100 gallon.
okay, so then we do have that capacity. Oh, Bart, have you heard any more about 227 North Main Street at all?
Have not. Have not.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I mean, around town, it seems to have gone dark, but I didn't know if they had reached out to you or not. Have you heard anything, Ricky, about? No, okay. All right. Well, thank
Another
you all very
question, though.
much. Oh, sure, fire away.
If for the Swift House, they didn't put any stubs in those manholes from what we could find on the prints. Would we have to go into a manhole or could we saddle the line and put a line in that way?
They did leave a stub on the sewer line. So we have pull ties to that where we could get pretty close to where that location is. So I can put that together for you. I did it some time ago. I'll pull together another one and just send it off to you, so you know right where to go to. But if it worst comes to worst, yeah, absolutely, we can just put a saddle tap right on top of the main and go into it if we can't find it. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Meeting adjourned at 4:56. See you next month. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.